Hey, friends. Today we're really excited because we have some very special guests joining us, Alan and Autumn Ray. And if you've been around the world of Christian marriage for any length of time, there's a good chance you've already been impacted by their work, even if you didn't know it.
Yes, and Al and Autumn are the co-founders of MarriageTeam, which is an incredible nonprofit ministry that has spent the last 2 decades training Christian couples to become marriage coaches, and they offer coaching to couples all around the world. And they've also authored the 8-book series, Rick and Jane Learn to Be Married. And y'all, these books are so different from anything else that's out there. They are simple, story-driven, relatable, and they are packed with wisdom, all the wisdom that they've gained from coaching thousands of couples.
Their whole heart is to equip couples with practical, biblically grounded tools that actually work in the real world. And that's exactly why we wanted to have them on today. So let's dive into this episode that we're calling A Biblical Playbook for Marriage, Simple Strategies That Change Everything. Well, Al and Autumn, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being part of our podcast, part of our show. Look, we want to talk about the playbook and your books, your book series, Rick and Jane, and also what you're doing with coaching. But before we get into that, we were really hoping that you would share a little bit about your own marriage story.
Oh gosh, we love to tell about our marriage story because we know there are a lot of people out there just exactly like us, but most of us are afraid to tell our marriage story. So yeah, see, you've been there, right?
Yeah,
so,
we've been there.
We were an Air Force family and all that entails. Alan was in the Air Force for, was it 27 years. And so there were a lot of separations and me, running the house on my own and everything. And we really did not have a good relationship, a good marriage at all. And I like to say we went to everything that had the word marriage on it. If it was a class, if it was a book, if it was a counselor, if it was a pastor, boy, we were there. And we could not get our relationship on track. So, and in fact, the Lord led us into kind of a marriage ministry, makes you laugh, right, with the relationship that we had. But we would be teaching marriage classes and doing marriage seminars and retreats and kind of watching the people in our classes. And I'm afraid to tell you, but it didn't work for a lot of people. I sat back there and I'm talking to the Lord about it. I'm going, what is up with this? I mean, you are a God of transformation. I know that you bring people back from the dead. Why can't you bring marriages back from the dead? What is missing? And we were praying about it one day. And I remember saying to the Lord, okay, what can we do about it? Kind of laughing. And the Lord never gave up. Once I said that, it was like, you finally asked the right question. So what can I do about it, right? How can it be the answer to your own prayer? So
sure.
He began giving us information about how to start a ministry kind of directed by him that was skills-based. Like we would hear people say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what we need to do. And we go back home and it's Monday morning and we're going, we don't know how to do that. So with the coaching, the coaches come alongside a couple and they practice the skills. They learn how to talk and listen to each other. They learn how to solve problems. They learn what anger looks like and forgiveness looks like. Not only learn it, but they have to actually practice it with this couple, a coaching couple who loves and cares about them. So that's the story of our marriage. And we have lots more to say about the ministry, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love that concept too, because you're being doers and not just hearers of the word. And so I think that is a big struggle. That's one of the things that we're also interested in, is trying to help people and make it practical. How can people apply what God's saying? Okay, so this is what God says. Okay, now what? And so that's fantastic, putting it into action and walking alongside and having a heart for that. So
yeah, and I also love that it's beyond behavior modification. It's deeper than here's this tool, just do this and all will be well. Because like you were saying, Autumn, God is a transformative God. And so it's the heart, it's underneath why we're doing this behavior. And this is the behavior that the Lord said will transform you in your marriage.
Yes,
even deeper than just here's your steps.
Yeah, we had a guy once, I was sitting next to him, we were having dinner, and he says, well, why can't people just be nice to each other? And I said, that's it. I said, we teach people how to be nice to each other. Because they really, I know, and it's not just people, it's Alan and I. It's like we take 1 Corinthians 13, and which all, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, this, and this is how you actually do it.
Yeah, because you hear it, but then Monday morning you're back operating basically in your old playbook, and that's sort of the breakthrough in our own thinking that caused us to really embrace the coaching concept. So the playbook concept is that you and your spouse are born onto different teams, your family of origin, and you develop a playbook for life based on what it took to be successful in your family. It includes your own expectations, family norms, how people handle anger, bitterness, all of that stuff. So you become a young adult, you create your own family, i.e. you create a new team, but you each bring your playbook and they don't match. Your expectations are different, how you handle conflicts different, whether you avoid it or embrace it, all of that stuff is different, and you don't talk about it. You don't realize that the differences are there. You just operate out of that and expect that your teammate is going to be just like you because that's what's normal. I mean, you wouldn't have a lousy playbook, of course everybody does it that way. So what coaches
it's common sense.
Yeah, exactly. But common sense isn't common, unfortunately.
No.
So what coaches do is they come alongside and they help couples create, they help couples create awareness of what's really going on. And then they help couples create new plays, i.e. agreements on what they're willing to do differently to get different results. And, to your point there, we often think about, is it heart change or is it behavior change? And the Lord can work either way. But there's a cognitive dissonance when there's a heart change and the behavior doesn't match that, people want them to match. So if the behavior is changing, then the heart will follow that. And when couples are Christian couples doing the coaching, they earn the right to share the Lord and to demonstrate what the Lord's doing in their life, which helps couples that are non-Christians to move closer to the Lord.
Yeah, which is fantastic. That was one of the things, I'm not jumping ahead, but, in the books, right, is being able to even make use of scripture for even non-believers to here's practical truths, here's knowledge. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Well, it does to us, but for them, here's some knowledge that you can make in place. But when you're seeing this playbook being implemented by couples, I mean, what kind of changes or what are you seeing happening or transformation happening with those couples?
Yeah. So this is really exciting for us because when we started this ministry, how many years ago?
Yeah, 20.
I'm not the numbers person. About 20 years ago, I said to the Lord, if this doesn't work, we're not going to do it, because we don't want to waste your time and we don't want to waste our time. We know things that don't work. So we kind of left it in his hands and said, you need to orchestrate this whole thing. I mean, we'll listen, but you need to orchestrate it. So he put together this program where the very first week that we meet with couples, there's so many magic things about this that he put together. I'm going to name like some of them. So one of them is relationship. Our God is a God of relationship and a God of loving another person. Yes. And so he said, this isn't the Autumn and Allen show. He said, you are going to train couples around the world to sit with another couple and love them and care about them. And you're going to train them in these skills that I give you. And they're not getting paid. They are going to just do it because they're my hands and feet in this world. And you get to train them, you lucky people. And so that is the way it works. There's some magic about this ordinary couple that's learned this training that can sit across from somebody else, Christian or non-Christian, and that couple bonds with them because they know they're doing it just because they love them. So that is one of the things that really works. Then the very first session is, we know those people are going to leave. Now we do most of our coaching now online, but we know they're going to leave the screen and they're going to go back to their own way of life. So in that first session, we've got to do something to get them to behave differently We can't just have a little introduction. Oh, here we are. This is what we're going to do. No, you need to learn a skill so that you have hope when you leave this screen after 2 hours with your coach couple. So we have heard over and over again, the first session that our coaches teach is listening. We believe that's the most important skill. You can diffuse almost any high argument or someone up here emotionally if you begin to listen to them. So we have couples after the first session say, oh my goodness, I've been going to a counselor for years. I got more out of this session than I've ever gotten. So here's the other thing that's magic about it. It's not one person's responsibility. You're both in this relationship together. So when you make an agreement, it's both of you making this agreement together. So we also have what we call is a relapse play, because here's Alan and Autumn. Oh, these are our good intentions. We want to do this. We're going to do this. I commit to doing this for you. And in the next hour, I've broken my agreement. And so Alan, right. And then what happens?
Because we go back to the old plays.
And then you go back to square one and you're mad at each other again, and you don't have any way of recovering from that. So God said, no, you have a relapse play, and the other person in the relationship gets to bring that to your attention. But how do they get to do that? So let's say I'm being critical. Autumn being critical? Are you kidding? Yeah. So Autumn might be being critical, and I don't get it because that's who I am. And Alan's going, oh, I'm feeling this again. She's being critical. And he can go off and be mad and angry about it, or I can give him some words to say to me to bring me back. And he can say to me, Autumn, I really love you and care about you. This is what I see happening right now. I see this criticism coming up in our relationship. And I really don't, it's hard for me to stay involved when I hear that. Now, I'm his teammate. Do I want to say, well, that's not me. Too bad for you, bud. No, we have this team agreement.
Because those are Autumn's words. She had to come up with them. And if I will use her words, then it shows that I'm trying to help, and I'm not saying something that would push her further away. So she has an opportunity to say, oh, yeah, you're right, and take a deep breath and restart the conversation.
So that's why couples from day one have hope. And that's what we want to give them when they first come in. My God's a God of hope. I know yours is. And so from the get-go, let's have hope.
Yes. And I love this because even just the concept of the marriage playbook, because, like you're saying, we have playbooks from our past and our upbringing, and we have our own teams. And when we enter marriage, those are almost rival teams. Yeah. We're running our own plays automatically. And so just getting that understanding of this is what's happening. I'm coming in with this team mentality, and now we've got to switch teams and start our own. And so just having that awareness of recognizing this is why I do the things I do. And now let me be open to doing new things to start calling our own plays.
Yeah.
But we're running these plays because we've practiced them our entire life. And so we don't know different. And so to just be able to sit there with a couple and go, hey, here's what's happening. Now let's address that and acknowledge it. But now let's start calling our own plays. I think it's just an amazing concept.
Can I quote you on that, rival teams? I like that. I'm going to use that.
Absolutely.
There's nothing new under the sun, Autumn.
No.
Right. Because couples do they start treating each other like enemies. Zig Ziglar had a comment. He says marriages would do a whole lot better if people realized they were on the same team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
You brought to mind a play that I brought into our relationship. And the play was, if Alan loved me and cared about me, he'd know what I needed and wanted. I thought that's what
I have that playbook.
Yes.
I brought that one.
Yes, and it doesn't work.
No.
But he didn't know how to fix it. He didn't know what my play was. He couldn't quite figure it out. And I'm like, if you loved me and cared about me, you know this about me.
And if I have to tell you, you don't love me.
Yes. So, but then, isn't that crazy? And we think that's the truth. And that's only one play. Can you imagine all the multitudes of other plays that people bring in?
Yes. Wow. And sometimes you don't even know that you're living off of this playbook until your spouse has triggered one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And stuff. Exactly. And so it really is about, that trigger is there. What is really happening? And it is, because I'm with you on that one, Autumn. It's like, well, I shouldn't have to tell you this, because just telling you this means you don't care.
Right.
Because if you care, you would know these things. And I mean, I was sold out believing that. Like, it's still, I'm like, how does that not make any sense? That makes perfect sense to me.
We were doing a retreat one time, and we had a couple who had been married 38 years who had joined. And we had asked them, okay, so married 38 years. So what year did mind reading happen? So how many years, right?
Well, it hasn't happened in 55, I can tell you that.
Yeah. But I just even using the playbook concept is because I think it's very relatable. That analogy, I think people click right in on that and go, okay, yeah,
it's
know
almost
what that
exciting
means.
To create your new playbook.
Yeah.
Just the idea of that.
You know how we came up with that? This is kind of cool too.
How?
We were asking the Lord what will bring men to to a group or to couples for help. And it was like, don't blame them and don't criticize them, and so he came up with this playbook idea for us that said, no, you're playing a team. You know how to play on a team. You just need to know how to play on this team.
And when things aren't working, it's not the wife's fault or the husband's fault. It's the playbook.
Yeah.
You know, so
yes.
The goal is to improve the relationship and the team functioning. So people get that.
Yeah, and I love that. It's not no longer blaming one another. It's like, nope, it's not you that's bad in this. It's not you that's wrong. It's not even me that's wrong. It's the play.
Yeah, we ran the play wrong, or it's not structured the way that we work or want to work together.
Yeah.
I love that. And I was actually going to comment about that, how the practicality of it just being called the playbook, because it is, if you're in marriage ministry, you know that it is a struggle to get men involved. I mean, it should not be that way, but it is. And they don't want to deal with all these emotions and all these things. But this is like practical, step by step. Oh, I know how to run a game. Yeah. I know how to do, they understand team mentality. And so I think
guys just want to fix it. You know, if you tell them how to fix something, and it's and with the concept of creating new plays, you fix it by making agreements on what you're going to do differently. And if you just follow through on your agreement, things are going to be better. I mean, and that was what one couple told us after that very first session. You gave us tools that I can do that will make things different.
Yeah. That's great.
I love that. So what are some of the issues you see in couples who don't have a shared playbook? Like, what are the obstacles that they run into?
You want to go?
Yeah, well, for us, the very first thing is communication. They talk past each other. They have a different vocabulary. They have a different understanding of the words that they're using. And it's so exciting to watch that change. Even in our coach training, when we're training people, they actually have to go through the process of the couple that's going to come to them. So they have to
they coach and they are coached.
And we had a couple in there, and they said for 35 years, we've been talking past each other on this one issue, and I never understood what my wife meant. So there's a quote that some of the gals love. There's a quote that says, being understood is so close to being loved that you can't tell the difference.
Wow.
So isn't that powerful?
Yes.
So, and that's all people really want, is to be understood. But we don't take the time. We don't slow down our conversation to say, this is what I'm hearing you say. This is what I'm understanding. Is that what you want me to understand? And how many times would it be different? No, that's not what I said at all. That is not what I want you to understand. Well, let's replay that then, because I'm not getting it. So if you start with communication, almost every single issue can be resolved. I mean, there are other skills that you can learn along the way that go along with that. But and the other thing is learning to speak so that your teammate can receive it. When you have a high emotional issue with them involved, you need to slow it down. You need to stop it. You need to not attack. I mean, we all know the skills, but do we practice them enough so they become second nature? And that's what happens when you're in coaching, because the coaches will stop the couple. They're coaching. They stop you from playing the game wrong. And they say, now, wait a minute, you
whistle.
Put this in a statement where your teammate can receive it. And they'll, okay. And they'll go back and rephrase it. Until by the fifth, this is so great, by the fifth or sixth session, the coaches are like sitting there and you're like, they're having a conversation and you're kind of watching them because they've learned how to communicate.
When you're learning to run these plays, you don't get them immediately. Practice is involved. There's a reason why teams show up for practice. And so giving that grace and understanding of it may take us a few times running this play before we get it.
Yep.
Well, Alan and I still run into difficulties because we are mired in our humanness a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But now the magic is we have a way out. We'll like be going down, the proverbial crazy cycle. And one of us will go, this is in fact crazy. Why are we doing this when we know we don't have to? And another trick that God came up with was you make these plays and then you write them down because they're in your head, but you don't remember them. So you write them down and then you post them somewhere in the house. We say, where do you want to post them so that you don't forget it? So this is what happens. You'll be going down this crazy cycle, or couples will, and somebody will say, wait a minute, we have a different play. I'm not sure what it is, but we have it written down. And they go and get it off the refrigerator or off the mirror, and they literally read it. Alan, I know you're really trying, but this is what's happening right now. And it will change the dynamic because you actually have something to replace your old plays.
Yeah, it's calling that timeout or blowing the whistle.
Yeah, exactly. Go
ahead, Alan.
And that's the primary function of a coach, is to guide and facilitate effective communications, to stop people when they're using the skill poorly, when there is an understanding going, or they heard something that the speaker said that wasn't verified by the listener. They'll say, but wait a second, I heard this. Was that important to you? And that, now what do you understand? Because people often only get half a message. They only understand what they want to understand, and they miss the rest of it because, we know, quote, know what our spouse is thinking and what they're feeling, but we're not listening to understand.
Sure.
I can give you an example of that. I was thinking about a presentation we did a little while ago to a group, and one of the gals in the group said, yeah, I know this couple and they just can't get together on finances. He wants to save everything and, she overspends, and they just have arguments and arguments and arguments over that. She says, do you see any hope for that at all? And I had to stop and think about it. And of course, after you've done this for a number of years, the idea is, what's behind his wanting to save? What's behind his miserliness that his wife sees that they've never had a conversation about? What doesn't she know about him that she needs to know? And so I said that, and the woman, you can see her face just totally changed, and she said, I never thought about that. So coaches can help couples with that awareness. So that's the coaching. And then, so why did we decide to write these books? Because because we want people to understand that it's normal. If you're married, you're going to have problems, and there is help and there is hope for every relationship. So we created Rick and Jane, this couple, Alan and Autumn, really, but we call them Rick and Jane, and they need help in their marriage. So where do they go? They seek out Sam and Sally, who are coaches. And if anybody listening to this is looking for a coach, MarriageTeam.org is where you want to look, MarriageTeam.org. And I'm sure you have other referrals or resources.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll definitely be putting that in the show notes.
Yeah. So we want to normalize it. So these are books, 8 books about Rick and Jane going to see their coaches, Sam and Sally, about all the different issues in their relationship and how Sam and Sally help them with practical tools. So that's what the book is about. Now, can the books themselves actually help people? Well, there are exercises. It can, and I like to say it can help you if you're smarter than Alan and I were, and you can actually do those exercises and put them into practice in your life. Yes, that's our prayer and our hope for you. But there are a lot of people that can't do that. And if you can't do that, come and have somebody love you through it.
And I think the thing is that we wanted to put it in a story form so it normalizes the fact that we all, at some time or another, have problems and issues with our marriage. So people tend to hide it. They think they're the only ones. They feel isolated. They don't bring it up until it's way late in the process. But if you seek help, when things are still relatively good, then, you can make big changes. And even we've worked with, and there have been hundreds of couples that have gone through marriage team coaching that were separated, were contemplating divorce. They go through coaching, and 89% of them decide to stay together after coaching because it's biblically based, it's skills focused, and it's application oriented. So it's all putting it into practice, because you can, if you know the skill but you're not doing it, it doesn't make a difference.
Sure.
Right.
You got to apply it.
Yeah, and I love that, just the idea of having marriage coaches. I mean, that's something we need to normalize. And, we were taught as counselors in school, over 50% of the success of counseling is the therapeutic relationship. There's so much benefit. I mean, God is, like you said, he's a relational God. We're made for community.
Right.
And so there's so much benefit in just sitting down with another couple and letting them hear your story and letting them speak into your life. And so just that relationship, I mean, just having coaches in your marriage, is a healing factor as well. And then to add on all the therapeutic tools and all the help and the resources and things like that. I mean, I believe the 89% success rate.
That statistic is interesting. And first of all, let me say we do not take credit for that, because none of our coaches can transform anybody's life.
That's right.
So we're going to give the Holy Spirit the 89%. But the other thing about that was that 89% wasn't good enough for me, because just because you say you're not going to get divorced or you're going to stay together, what does that mean? God's actually done his work in your life.
Does that mean you're thriving?
Yes, you've got to be thriving. So that's the statistic. We say it's not good enough that you just say, oh, well, we're just going to live miserably the rest of our lives. We want God to do his work. So those 89% are transformed.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love, Chris and I were reading some of the books, and it's such a fun read. And it is so, I mean, right out of the gate, like the first stories were like, oh my gosh, we've had that happen, that we have done that. And then just having the coach's input in the book, it's so real life. You're looking at these kind of like cartoon characters, but it's real life. And it allows you to hear the truth of the situations more easily, because you're hearing it through the lens of looking at another couple.
It's unassuming.
It is. It very much is.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, so many people think that they're the only ones going through this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hear it all the time. Other people. No, this is a common experience that so many of us, because we're built for relationships, when they go awry, this is what happens. And so to be able to see these characters, right, the characters, the people going through going through this, it's like, wow, it's not just us. And so, which is one of the reasons why we are big supporters and of people getting in with other couples, doing group things, community. We're made for community, to be able to see that normalcy that we all are struggling and working our way through this world, this life.
Let me pick up on that for a minute, because it's so reciprocal. We heard God say part of our ministry is to equip the saints for ministry. So that's why we only train Christian couples to come alongside other couples. The couples that come to us, of course, do not need to be Christian. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It doesn't matter. But the reciprocity is that you're being used by God to do his work. And is that not going to be blessed? I mean, your relationship, your relationship changes dramatically every time you coach another couple. And we've just seen the Lord bless our coaches over and over and over again, so that their story improves and their witness improves and their ministry improves.
And we've been given the ministry of reconciliation. And that's when we're doing that, when your coaches are doing that, they're doing the Lord's work. And that is going to be beneficial and transformative to them.
Yeah. You are a very wise woman. I really love talking to you.
I love being married to her.
I appreciate that.
She's the brains behind the outfit.
That's it. And I was going to say, when you guys jumped on, because how long have you been married? 55 years, you said?
Yeah.
Something like
that's amazing. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Yes. Amen to that.
Some of them happy. 55.
Yeah, there you go. And we feel that. But I love the stage of life that you all are in, because where you're at in life, we like to refer to them as like the legacy years. And it's where like you have so much wisdom from your life, and you have so much to where you're spending these days like pouring into other couples, and it is so beneficial. And I can even sit here and we've been married a little over 30 years, and I'm thinking the whole time, oh, I would have loved to have had them. I would, and even now I'm like, I want to be coached by them, and it's just, I love that where you guys are at in life, and just the wealth of wisdom that you have. And it is just, it's a treasure. It's a treasure. And so I love that. And I appreciate what you're doing. And now I want to talk about like some of these books, so everybody knows, I just want to quickly share some of the topics, but it's an 8-book series on communication, anger, conflict, forgiveness, intimacy, problem solving, and differences. And so you also talk about how communication, to go into a couple of some points, how communication is the first step to intimacy.
Right.
So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think it's, if you can't communicate effectively, if you don't feel understood by your spouse, then all the stuff that happens are going to become little hurts and things that divide you. And over time, if you're not communicating effectively, if you're not addressing those issues, bitterness builds up and anger builds up, and all of those things just, kill intimacy. So intimacy, if you think about it, is into me see, okay, is one way to look at it. So when people are being open and they're communicating effectively, they feel connected. And when you feel emotionally connected, it's so much easier to be sexually connected as well.
Sure.
So that's why
that
we
makes a lot of
say that communication is the first step. It is the key. And if you can master that, then you're well on your way to having a strong marriage.
Here's the thing. If you're in a relationship, when things aren't right, when your teammate's upset with you, or when you're upset. But how often do we just continue in that way, in this play that says, oh, well, I'm just going to withdraw. We're not going to talk about it because basically we don't know how. So we're just going to play this play that causes us to go further and further apart instead of closer and closer together. So it's so beautiful when a couple learns to communicate and not be afraid of those moments when they're sliding away from each other. But when somebody can say to them, hey, are we okay? Do we need to talk about something? I'm sensing something is off in our relationship. And they're not afraid of their teammate attacking them or, being critical of them. They have a way out. Of course, that creates intimacy.
Yeah. And I love that, because sometimes the play that we learned was, like you were saying, was to run away from that, sweep that under the rug, avoid that, or even like charge it and fight it and stop it, where it's like, okay, that's what I've always done. That's the old playbook. But the new play we're going to go is when conflict happens, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to be curious and I'm going to lean in. And so you start practicing out of these new plays. And so even the way you handle conflict might be the great opportunity to go, hey, here's where we can start creating a new play together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's always a positive thing when you begin working together.
Well, even with anger, and Al, you brought up anger, that we know that's a common struggle, that people fall into. What kind of misconceptions do couples usually have about anger?
Yeah, it's interesting because first of all, God made us. Anger is normal. Everybody gets angry. But when you get angry, there's normally something behind it. And we call that the primary emotion, or psychologists call it the primary emotion. So when you feel unloved, when you feel disrespected, when you feel embarrassed, or any of those feelings, you almost immediately get angry. You don't even recognize the underlying feeling. It goes back to the old flight or fight mechanism. The adrenaline starts pumping and you're immediately angry, and you may not even know why, but you just sort of lash out. So when in the coaching process, when we can help couples understand a little bit more about what's going on, and they can identify those underlying emotions, then they're going to be much more able to address the anger. And quite frankly, if you understand the underlying emotion, it probably plays itself out in being late or in,
not getting your to-do list done.
Whatever, all of the stuff that happens can go back to that underlying emotion. So it's really like finding the root cause of a lot of the issues. And then anger is, we all get angry. So how are we going to work together to minimize the negative impact? So again, it's, when I get angry, it has an impact on Autumn. So becoming aware of the impact it has. I don't want her to feel tense and nervous and, withdraw because I'm angry, because it's just me. I'm frustrated about something, it has nothing to do with her, but it has an impact on her. When I understand the impact it has, that provides motivation for me to do something differently.
And when I understand something's behind his anger and I see his anger, I come to him and I go, no, that's what's really going on. You just yelled at me. You just yelled at the kids. You just got upset about what is really behind that. And then it causes him to slow down and look at, oh, this is what really happened to me today that caused me to feel like this. And then all of a sudden you're sharing. And you've got this empathetic listener who's taken the time to put on the big girl pants and put on the big boy pants and engage their adult brain instead of being the 2-year-old who shirks or runs away. Confront it and go, wait a minute, no, I know there's something else going on. What is it?
Yeah, because our natural response to anger is almost always going to be defensiveness. It's going to be defensiveness. And so what you're saying is I don't have to be defensive to Grumpy Pants Al, but instead of being defensive, I get to be a resource for him.
Yeah.
And enter into that and go, hey, how can I help you? What's really going on?
Yeah.
And that alone is just a marriage game changer. I mean, removing defensiveness and self-protection to leaning in and being a resource and a helper.
Yeah.
Like that's a beautiful thing. That's a great play.
Yeah.
So much of marriage coaching is about reframing couples thinking. So in the anger book, the coaches sort of bring up the picture of uncontrolled emotions are what 2-year-olds do. They throw temper tantrums because they don't know how to communicate effectively. And consequently, when you're throwing a temper tantrum and you're letting your emotions go unchecked, are you acting like a man or are you acting like a 2-year-old? So as you reframe,
Al said this, everyone. Al said this.
So as you're helping couples to reframe their thinking, I think a lot of people think it's macho to be mad and angry and, withdrawn. And
it feels powerful.
Exactly. But in reality, it shows an inability to control your emotions. So is that a manly thing or is that an immature, childish thing?
Yes, it takes far more strength to control your anger and your temper than it does to let it fly.
Absolutely. I think there's some scripture on that too.
Yeah. I think Paul admonished a little about not sitting in our anger. I think so.
But again, those things are difficult to overcome on your own. But when you have someone sitting across from you, loving you through it, understanding it, and you're teaching these teammates come and they're like this, they don't have anything together, and all of a sudden they get this idea that, oh my gosh, all of these little plays we can do together if we just learn how to do it. So
they don't have to be victims. They can work together to be winners.
Yeah,
that's so fantastic.
That's one thing Chris always says. When there's a you versus me, there can't be a we.
Right.
And that's exactly what you guys are talking about. We got to set down your playbook, my playbook, and start building one together. So as we wrap up here, would you guys share 2 or 3 simple strategies that couples can practically apply this week that might start changing things for them?
Yeah, I think, the first thing would be to get that very first book on Rick and Jane Learn to Listen and Talk, to really adopt those skills, because that would be the gateway for making change in the relationship. But I think the key thing is making and keeping agreements. You can't build trust in a relationship if you say, well, I'll take care of it, and 3 weeks later it's not fixed. And, it just says, so, how can I trust you if you're not going to do what you say you're going to do? So simply making and keeping agreements is a great first step to just building trust in a relationship. And, we can all do a better job of thinking of the other person. And that goes right into the selfishness. One of the things that we can do is ask what we can do for our teammate. What can I do to help out? And if you're putting their needs above your needs, and you're being less selfish and more selfless, it's going to improve your relationship right immediately. They're going to start working together, and things are going to start to change.
We have a question in our book. We talk about scripture, and then we go, husbands, are you willing to die for your life the way Christ died for the church? And, everybody, I die for my wife, I die for my wife. And then the next question is, like, would you pick up your underwear for her then? You're going to take a bullet.
Well played.
I love it. The common marriage problem. So, after all these years of marriage ministry, what is the thing that you wish every married couple would understand?
Oh, without a doubt. It's, first of all, the non-spiritual aspect of it is everybody has problems in their relationship. Get over it and go find out how to fix them. And the second thing is, our very last book that we wrote was, I hope I don't get crying here. Rick and Jane Learn the Secret, because Rick and Jane are not a Christian couple, but they come to Sam and Sally. Sam and Sally love them through everything. And then they say, but you taught us all these skills and we get all these skills, but you still have something we don't have. And Sam and Sally said, we got Christ. So that's the two things right there. And I tell people, I know you live in America. I know you've heard the name Jesus. And I know you have some kind of an idea about who Jesus is. But I'm telling you, if you know the person of Jesus, he's going to blow you away. And if you don't feel blown away, you don't know Jesus. So go and find him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. We say this all the time. If you don't have Jesus, then how are you making it work? I mean, you could maybe some habits, some white knuckling it, but it's just the true transformation. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. The fullness of life you're missing.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
I love it. Well, you guys have been amazing, and I know you actually have to go because you've got a couple to coach. And so that's great. And we may get on your calendar because this has been wonderful, and I would love to. I mean, you never outgrow the need for marriage coaching and outside influence into your life and marriage. So it's true discipleship that happens with that. And so we're going to put all the links to your books and your website and stuff for people to sign up for any coaching that they need and to get these books and go through these books as a group. I mean, they're great. We really enjoy them.
I mean, people who are like, I don't read. I'm not a good reader. Easy read.
Yes. Well, everybody can read these books.
Great. And we've so enjoyed this. Thank you so much. It's been just a pleasure for us.
Yep.
Yes,
it's been a real pleasure for us. Just the wisdom and the sharing has been tremendous. And and also the work you're doing for God is really fantastic.
Right back at you.
Thanks for being a part of the show.
You're welcome.